So this isn't in any means like a very scientific technical review of the lenses. It's a lot more of like my thoughts on them, how they work, how they behave, and a lot of real life usage of the Catos. I've been using them for a while now. I honestly have very, very few bad things to say. I think that the set is an amazing set of glass, multi-purpose for run and gun, and multi-purpose for on-set stuff as well. So what is the lens package that you're gonna get with these Catos? Well, right now they've got 3 focal lengths with 1 more on the way. Who knows what they're gonna come up with down the line, but it's the 55 T2, it's the 85 T2.8, and then you've got the 125 T4. So yeah, they do have variable iris across the range of T2, 2.8, and 4. That's kind of maybe one of the sacrifices that we're gonna get for the size and the form factor and the price that we're getting. And then the nice part is it's still got an 82mm screw-on. So I can just do screw-on NDs, screw-on mist. You don't have to have a whole matte box on it as well. So the form factor makes it great for a lot of the run and gun stuff. I mean, Johnny's dragged me out into the woods like all week long, and we've been using these secretly without you guys knowing. What are these lenses?
The secret.
They still have this very small run and gun form factor. You're not getting like a whole cine lens where it's large 95 or 114 mil front element. And then I like to say that this is influenced by cam as well, the color of the case that it comes in, but maybe I could be wrong, who knows. But yeah, it's just a small hard shell Pelican case where it's just got all the lens options in there as well. So honestly, I've been using the Catos a lot lately. This isn't the first time out that I've been using them. I used them with Johnny a couple of weeks ago. I used them in Italy. I've gotten a lot of hands-on testing with them, and they just make me love them more and more. And they really do have their, I guess you could call it a signature look that just has so much fun character that is going to be great for me with my narrative work and film stuff, not just run and gun and testing out in the wilderness. For example, I used the prototypes way back on that on-spec that I did with Mitch and his team. And the prototypes, they were soft. They actually had a 50, not a 55 before they switched. And they had like their tops and their bottoms were soft, and they had a lot of weird aberration and distortion going on. But that project is a great example, regardless of prototypes or not, of how beautiful they can look when on a proper film set, when you add in your lighting and you add in your team and you add in everything else. So it's nice because you can still do run and gun stuff. I mean, this is all I've got. I've got the 2x D-squeeze in camera, and you can still hand focus without any like focus pull or an AC or anything like that, because we're just screwing around. We're getting him like running around, and I still feel pretty confident pulling focus and getting sharps on it. So I've been running this on the FX3 and the FX6, which is a 16:9 sensor. And Cam taught me a lot about open gate, but pretty much that's one of the downfalls is you don't get all of the lens. And Cam's got a full video on his channel, go check that out. But in a nutshell, why am I losing, like why is it a drawback of me shooting on a 2X on a 16:9 sensor?
All the movies that you see in Hollywood are shown anamorphic. The final deliverable is a 2:3.5:1 final crop, or 2:4:0. It's almost the same thing. So once you do that final crop ratio, you're basically cropping off all the edges.
Because these coming out of this is like a 2.7:1.
Yeah.
Or something really wide.
Which
so
you can use that if you want.
Yeah.
Like the director and DP or the creator actually want to deliver that, but the studio wouldn't let them. Because that 6:9, it's a rectangle, and you're having to stretch that rectangle out 2 times. Where 3x2 is more of a square, so you're de-stretching that square by 2 times. So you guys can get how much longer it is.
It's something to consider when picking your camera for the job, or your lens for the job based off your camera. Because I've had projects where I'm shooting 16:9 sensor and then shooting anamorphic, knowing that it'll stretch too far for what deliverables I need. I just opt away from it, or opt for a less squeeze, like a 1.5.
Yeah.
So it's not saying that the 2X is worse, it's just saying that they work in tandem with each other, the sensor and the camera. So we talk about these anamorphics being sharp, and I seriously mean it when they are very, very sharp. So I'm just gonna show you guys. So right now I've got this is a 55. I wanna run through real quick. Each lens, the sharpness kind of at 2, and then stop down a little bit more and all of that. So at 2, This 55 is wide open at T2 right now, and on that 944, it is sharp, but you still see like outside of that focal plane, you get such like creamy, paintbrushy character throughout the bokeh, which to me, I love. So if I were to stop this down, let's bring this down now to 2.8. I'll open up, and already that's when it really starts to clean up. Even at like, if you don't want some of the fringiness and the ghosting, just stop down to 2.8 and you've got all the character and all the quality of it. So there's 2.8 for you. Down to 4, I'm not gonna go through the whole range, but I mean, in that range, like 4, it's real sharp. You get a little bit of that fringy anamorphic split on the edges, but it's nothing that's unusable. And at 5.6, I mean, it's sharpened way up at 5.6. So there's the 55. Let me throw on, let's go on to the 85 now. So the 85 only starts at a 2.8 though. So that's something to keep in mind. Here we go. So I'm gonna go wide open at 2.8. Step down a little bit to get the same exposure as we were. When you're wide open, you get a little bit of like that, you can see that purple and then that green ghosting and cast. Again, this lens is wide open. A lot of lenses when you're running are gonna be wide open or are gonna be a little ghosty out, you know, whatever the fastest aperture that it's at. But even this, I mean, it's still very, very usable sharp. And then bringing this down, let's bring it straight to 4. I'll open up as well. Again, it's so crisp and so sharp. Oh, we get some sun coming out. So there's 85 at T4. Then I'll bring it down to 5.6. And it's so nice. And then I'm gonna switch out to the 125 for our last lens. So coming from like, especially the A set of the Remus, we know that they're all, you know, soft, wide open, and that's fine, that's the sacrifice we make. But these Catos have completely changed that for me. I mean, now these are real sharp and usable through the entire range. So this lens starts at a 4. I'm gonna back up a little bit more. All right, so let's get this adjusted. So I've noticed the 125 is the softest of the 3, kind of how with the Remus, the 100 is the softest. You're getting a little bit more of that ghosting, but it's not as bad as the 100 is on the Remus at all. And then this is, you know, wide open at T4, and with a longer lens, I'm okay with T4 because T2 or T2.8 at a long lens like that is gonna be so shallow, and I don't even like that much soft compression. So I'm fine with shooting it at T4, and then I'm gonna bring this down to, let's say 5.6. Oh, that thunder's coming in nice. And then there's your sharpness at 5.6 on the 125. And I'm actually gonna bring it down to like a 7.1 and take off the ND, maybe even an 8, just to keep the exposure consistent. There's a T8 on this. So it's not as crisp and sharp as say the 55 or the 85, but I'm not hating it at all. So when I'm using anamorphic, I'm using it for a reason. Your job in cinematography is to tell the story visually, essentially. So with that, I want to tell my story with your lens choice as well. If I'm doing something that's very narrative and has like a lot of grit and emotion to it, I want a lens that emulates that. So I want a lens that kind of falls apart characteristically. You've got a lot of fringing, you've got a lot of vignetting and splitting and like wonky edges and stuff like that. And that's something that the Catos have. And the thing is, people say that the edges are bad, they need to make them better, but no, that's the goal that they're going for with these Catos. They're supposed to be a characteristic anamorphic. So if you just like a very clean image, then these lenses might not be for you, but for me, you guys know my style. It's very filmic, it's very narrative, low key, dramatic, all of that. This resonates a lot with that look. So I want to get this like long shot, like of a small car, big landscape type thing of Johnny driving up the road, just because you've got a beautiful backdrop of like trees and all of that. So I'm about to set up the 85 on a tripod and just get like, there's this little sliver of road to where I can see him drive by. So all it is like that little sliver of road that you see right there. And hopefully he kicks up a lot of dust when he does it, just so it leaves a nice trail. It's cool because it's backed with all behind there, you've got all like the red foliage and trees and stuff, and you got this meadow that kind of leads into it, and it's like a rolling hill. His car's white, so it'll pop, hopefully. Here it comes. That looks so sweet. Especially with his headlights too. Oh yeah. You Maybe left a nice dust trail as well. Okay, so the close focus on these, as you would expect. It doesn't stay open. Can you get a newer car? The close focus on these, as you'd expect, are not that close. But I say as you'd expect because with anamorphic lenses, naturally, it's the physics of the elements inside in a nutshell. They aren't good at close focus. So running it right here on the shift knob, your close is gonna be about like right here or so. I'm gonna turn peaking off. Yeah, there's your close, gonna be right about there. This is on the 55, it's not the best, but what I always run are like these diopters. So these are just screw-on diopters, right? Vivitar, I think they still make them. They're $20 on Amazon and I use them all the time. Yeah, so here's a +2. You gotta take off the ND. It's gonna be a little bit of a process. But if you just, good enough. So +2 on here, damn, dusty. Adds character. With the diopter, now I'm getting in like some really fun details. So if I put it on the shift knob, gives you this really, like the ability, it's like a magnifying glass for your lens, and it still gives you some really fun character, like on the radio. Like if I get into the Porsche logo. Johnny, I hope you don't mind, I'm just like manhandling your car. And I'll stop this down to like T24. So like I'm getting some really fun details on this Porsche logo and stuff like that. So if you're getting anamorphics, it's helpful to get some diopters as well, even if it's these cheap ones. Like I'm using these all the time on set, and I'll even show you, they've got some fun ones. Hold on. That's the +2. It's got a +10. Thing is just like, it breaks the image in such a fun way. So I'm gonna put this on just so you guys can see. +10 is just stupid. You can't even screw on an ND. I know it's very bad quality, but it's fun how close you can get. All right, so if I'm at T2, like you can already see the flaring that it gives you, like bouncing around, which is kind of fun, but like, it's this really, holy shit. It's just so close. But it gives such a fun stretch. Like if I'm putting in the Porsche logo here, Cam, you should see this. Look at how close I am on it. It looks fun, dude. Honestly, like if I'm going, like shots like this are very fun cutaway shots. It's flaring in a really fun way. Like I could get like details of it there. So close focus on anamorphics are never strong. They're not known for that. But the benefit of the Catos is that it's 82 thread. So you don't need a matte box diopter. It's screw on with 82. And honestly, I use these a lot. But obviously I want to talk about some of the drawbacks of these lenses because they're not perfect. They're amazing, they've got my heart, I will say that. But there are some things like the variable iris throughout the range. You've got the T2, the 2.8, and the 4. So those inconsistencies, I don't necessarily love because if I'm shooting T2 or 2.5 or 2.8 on a project, maybe when I throw on a long lens, I want to match that. Again, it's not the end of the world, but it could make for exposure changes and issues if you're using like hard stop NDs and stuff like that. But you're at the sacrifice with that of form factor. You just can't get a lens like a 125 down to T2.8 or even T2 because it'll just make the lens huge. So it's something to consider as like the trade-off of the form factor. Cam always tells me like with anamorphics, especially more budget anamorphics, you gotta sacrifice one thing to get the other. So I'm fine with making that sacrifice. And then even like, I'm gonna say this with a little asterisk by it because the edges are something that are a creative choice. There's not a right or a wrong. For you, like I mentioned before, if you like that very clean across the board look, don't go for these lenses. But for me, I love the edges. I love the way that they fall apart and how you've got this vignetting and this breakage and aberration going on there. Overall, what Blazar is doing with these Catos is incredibly impressive. It's groundbreaking, especially for such an affordable lens to look this good. So I'm really excited about these. You know I'm gonna be using them a lot. And I'm excited to see what you guys make with the Catos as well. Love is lost,